it's a bit tricky because you see when you become a community person, now everybody must share you, your family, your kids, and everybody. I will make you a typical example. I would find myself not having a mate, but my father would be able to buy one of his soccer players some cocks. And in that space of business, he was also contributing into the community in terms of supporting families that could not afford certain things. So he was running chat shops. He was selling almost anything that you can find that is required or needed by the community. Be the change that you want to see in the world, which is a Mahatma Gandhi quote,
Yeah.
If you really don't want to make any change in the world, who do you think is going to do it for you? You need to be the one who does these things. Now we are talking about our problems, and we are sorting out our problems. And I'm very happy that in all our meetings so far, there's never been a man who stood up and say, women are the ones causing us these problems. No, we are still pointing the fingers in ourselves. We are pointing these fingers. We are doing it's us who's making this to be like this. It's us who are not taking responsibility. It's us who must do this. It's us. I love that pace. As something at your pace. Let's keep on finding the fault in us, and then the rest they will fix themselves.
Good evening. Mtabiso Malinga Dona, otherwise known as Dr. Malinga Babanye, and then just given to me. It's about to get heated. It's about to get tough. We're interviewing the man himself, Mr. Mdaka. Welcome to
Ehubyeni
African Parliament. Carl is in Parliament. That's my Parliament. And hopefully we'll put him in this spot for a couple of more times because he's a genius behind he's the genius in front of the mic, behind the scenes. He's a genius in general. So that's a check. Finally met a master of all trades. So
you're giving me too much.
Big ups to him. From a conversation to a concept to a reality. So big ups to you, man.
Thanks.
Big ups to you. And thanks for the opportunity for letting me grill you, cook you a little bit. Introduce yourself to us, Tala, before
Oh, yeah. Mina utaltini uvusumuzo mashangane wakamdaka. I was born in Davidton, grew up there, moved to Etwatwa, which is an extension of Davidton. I'm an artist. I fell in love with the art a long time ago, through the initiatives of Abo Dabuchi Sequela, Abo Sibiko, Abo Prasmoli, Abo Zwedisbia, Abo Mkoma's Machine.
It's okay if you name somebody you want.
Yes. So I've been in that space for long, and kind of like fell in love with the community. I love community work so much. I love seeing success and brilliance coming out of the community. Hence the initiatives and all the projects that we keep doing together and with other guys as well.
Yeah, awesome, man. I can't shy away from the fact that you love your community, but I think before we even get into the cracks of the conversation today, which we will have, which I will introduce, but I think right now what we want to do is know the man behind what we eventually get into. And you mentioned service. You mentioned why so much passion? What is behind that much passion? Because you have so much passion behind this, and I need to know, background, history, or even if it's just a calling. What is it? Why behind you so much of a passion?
Look, man, ngizalwa family abantu aba very active when it comes to community things. Like Itamanam, Oprah John Mdaka, may his soul rest in peace. He used to have a soccer team. So he was very also active in terms of sports at Davidton. The team was called Davidton Arsenal. So there was too much engagement. Some who were professional soccer players and all that. So I got to find myself in that space, and was also a businessman as well. And in that space of business, he was also contributing into the community in terms of supporting families that could not afford certain things. So he was running chat shops. He was selling almost anything that you can find that is required or needed by the community. So I grew up in that space, and my grandfather was also a haircutter. He was like a barber,
Before Lucheri.
Actually, was not even supposed to. It was not even part of.
Would not have affected that business.
The business was going to go on with or without the electricity. So you used to cut in before it became Davidton Mall. you know. So, and he was umuntu wabantu. He was, I think, he was one of the few Shangan people who were staying at a hostel, because he used to stay. He used to have a hostel. So he was a genius, you know, when it comes to people. You know, he was umuntu wabantu, you know, a very neat guy who also gave birth to a guy who was my father, who was also into community space and then loving the community as well, and making sure that it becomes part of the community development through sports, because he was a very passionate sport. And the worst part about it is that he was, I don't know whether it's disabled or he was crippled, but he was involved in an accident. I think it was in 1982. And then ever since then, he was on crutches, and sometimes he would be able to walk, but you can understand.
So he was differently abled.
Yeah, you know, so so like, I think that is where I drew my strength as well, to say that a person who cannot be able to walk on his own and he can create such a legacy, you know, around himself, and have kids like myself, you know. Yeah, so I think that's just about it. I mean, coming from that space has actually just given me the reason to encourage, to love people. I love people. Some say I'm a very loud person. I'm opinionated, you know. I'm driven by understanding of space, and also correcting where you need to correct, and also helping where you can help.
In those saying, and then I hope you don't mind, because my thinking is, I'd like to get into Mr. Mdaka himself first before we get into what Mr. Mdaka does, because I think then what you do becomes more important.
Yes.
And it becomes more significant. And so I'm going to go a little bit deeper into your story, please. So you mentioned generations of, you know, 2 generations of people who are serving the community, and as such, you are the 3rd generation. But what we sort of know quite a big deal about people who give themselves to the people, and I'll give an example of just a few artists who've gone on to then take their lives, is that because they give so much of themselves, they don't have so much to give in. So I'd like to get into maybe a relationship with you and your father, because you wouldn't know the relationship between your grandfather and his father. But my understanding is you admire him for who he is, from what I can get. But I'd like to know from a personal perspective, for him as a father to you.
Yeah.
How are you with that? Was he as present for you? Was he as much of a father as you would have needed it to you as he was to the community?
Look, it's a bit tricky, because you see, when you become a community person, now everybody must share you, your family, your kids, and everybody, you know. I will make you a typical example. I would find myself not having a mate, but my father would be able to buy one of his soccer players some cocks, you know. It would be confusing.
Yeah.
These guys are benefiting from this guy, but this guy cannot buy me shoes, you know.
Yeah.
But in terms of being a father, my father was a very principled man, very disciplined. He made sure that we got involved in everything that he does, like especially in his tuck shop wrap business. You know, he had about 5-6 tuck shops. So it was like going to school, coming back from school, doing your homework, and then you say, shop your things. And then you get a little bit of time to go and play soccer, because he loved the part of the soccer. And I mean, I bought a big time. But you know, yeah, so he was there, but not just there as a friend, but he was there as a mentor to kind of like give you a direction. You know, you need to work for it. So even if you were to get something from him, you must have done something.
Yeah, man.
Whether it's a garden or a washing motor or a shop, busy, you know, you're accounting for everything. So yeah, he was there. He was there as a father, but you know, like, you know, there's no intimacy in terms of
no heart.
Yeah, no heart.
I can't go on like
Hey. Yeah, so he was like a typical father, of which I think he was the same age almost as your father. You know, you know that generation of fathers that they always had to work hard and get them to do.
A lot of their life was about providing.
Yes. Which is a different concept. From what not sure. You know, yeah. So yeah, my dad was there, you know, and he was a very strong character. Bold, strong, big, you know, like.
That makes sense. Because you're big, you have a presence. I mean, I don't think it's an accident that I don't think a lot of people could be in the same room with you or same presence with you without you self-domineering. So I respect that, and I sort of, to a certain point, I get where you got it. But maybe let's talk a little bit closer to during your father and post your father. How hard was it? Because we are raised to sort of accept indoda ikhali, indoda ayisheshizwe the food. So how hard was it for you, that transition from being a man that's being raised by that man to being a man that we are now looking and admiring to a certain point, to this day?
You know, when my father passed on, I was at the stage of understanding his principles and all that he was trying to instill in me.
You were past hating.
Yeah, I was past hating him. Like I was at the time where I was like, man, this guy is clever, man.
You are now at the Holland.
I needed him. You know, like I needed him. Because I remember I was paying him more visits. You know, I was going to him more times, because I even went and stayed somewhere in Soweto for some time because of he was not very keen of this thing. I'm your artist. And when I went to he gave me 50.
No, man. Topic for another day.
You know, so yeah, it's when I lost him, you know, like it was hard, because I felt Gucci. I don't know who delayed the process of the yearning between me and I having a proper relationship. Was it me or was it him? But there was that breakage that happened, and which denied me an opportunity to get to know the man for what he is and for his purposes and for the direction that he was trying to take in life, you know. But because I knew already what kind of a person he was, I kind of like just fit into his shoes.
Yeah, it sort of all came together.
It all came together, and yeah, hence I'm sitting here today trying to make the difference in the world.
Look, I mean, personally, I think you're incredible, but a lot of people will still understand it. I mean, but I'm here because you think I'm incredible, so this is a love affair. So it's beautiful. But why here? Why now? Why this? And by this, I mean the project we're about to get into. So I don't want you to get into the project itself, because we are about to get deeper into it. But when I say why here, is how did you end up here? And when I say why now, what's behind this push, apart from, you know, the family background you have? I'd like to understand your passion a bit further. And when I say why now, is because based on the conversations that are being had, which we'll get into a lot further, it seems to be perfect in its timing, where it's removing, you know, it's almost like we are Arika, you know, removing the dead from the good soil. So that's why I'm asking the questions. Why here?
Ish, my brother, you know, when you are surrounded by good souls, you have no other choice but to follow suit, you know. My love for the things that I do is simply because I like to see excellence, you know. I like to see things unfold, and I like to give myself the credit for the things that I do, you know. I invest a lot of my earnings, probably my money, into making sure that I get equipment together for projects, you know, and I try and bring people together. Somehow, I'm a very confrontational person, you know. I'm raw like that.
A little bit too raw, some might say. But people who have met me will say I'm a bit more raw. But you know, topic for another thing.
My robustness is on another level.
Yeah, because you're also loud, tall, and big.
And it's intimidating for some people.
Yeah, it can be a lot.
So yeah, I find myself in that space whereby I have to tone down sometimes. And sometimes I go like, but I can't compromise on this one. Let's just go for it. The outcome. Understand?
Yeah.
So we are here today in this particular space that we are in. We're doing these things that we do because, Joe, you need to have an impact in the world. You know, you must be attached to something successful and something that talks to the world, not just to a personal self. I can have everything. I can have Lamborghinis, drive a Mercedes-Benz, and live in a big house. But all of those things, when I pass, they will mean nothing to the world. They will only mean something to my kids. But what are you doing to change the world? You know, I've had an opportunity to engage with abantu abafana nabo Msuthu Wabunzane, who always preaches one thing. He says, be the change that you want to see in the world, which is a Mahatma Gandhi quote, you know?
Yeah.
If you really don't want to make any change in the world, who do you think is going to do it for you? You need to be the one who does these things. You need to be the one who implements the change so that you can breathe a fresh air. You know,
Just walk out there and say, you know what?
that's me. No, guy
Yeah, no, because you know about this.
But you know, when you're sitting there with that, damn, that's my product. I did this thing. And or even if you didn't do it alone, then the fact that we have people helping you is also a 10 point.
Because people have to want to
know. You know? So if you manage to get something achieved and you sit there and you look at yourself and say, damn, me and the boys managed to do this and it's benefiting the community. You know, that is why we are where we are. It's simply the love of the people. You know, the love of the people. You need to love the people. Because you cannot be an island. You can not live in your own. You cannot live in your own space. In a way that we share everything. We even share an EP. Share a yonki. Yonki. Yeah, you know. So we driven by the passion for the people. You know, you need to love the people. And I'm in a space whereby I have an influence of people like Oliver Tambo. You know, I have an influence of people like Abu Chris Hani. You know, all those selfless leaders who have proven and they still remain. That's why you keep seeing them coming up and popping up in spaces, because they have been relevant leaders and they had a mission and their vision must continue through us. We are the ones remaining now. And it's cool, that's about that. Every time I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, damn, Yaku can do it. You know, and you know the problem with Machita, we always want to stay at date.
Yeah, I want to be young, whatever, but I don't get to choose this, hence the grayness in me. But I'll keep the looks.
Of course.
You can't win them all.
Yeah.
Now let's get into the proper reason. Now that everyone sort of understands, you know, who Vusi Mdaka is. So now we're going to tone down the excitement and just get into the project at hand.
Yeah.
How did it come to be? Like, how did it? Because, you know, from concept to this, to where I'm now sitting with you discussing this concept. I mean, I know how it came to be, but not everyone does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how did it come to be?
So, it was one Sunday, you know. One Sunday we were sitting there. There's a friend of ours who owns a spaza shop, you know, which is a great thing. So we normally go and sit there on Sundays, sip on our drinks and have conversations about things. But those conversations, they were scattered. There were groups.
Yeah.
And you know, it started when somebody said, let's change the agenda. What is it that we're really benefiting from sitting here every day, Sisonke, every Sunday?
And away from our
my family is within the that's sharp. Okay, fine, I understand. We are having nice drinks, we are frying meat, speaking clovo, that's the normal environment that we live in. And then it started when I personally said, let's change the topic. Let's change the agenda of our conversations. And then some gentleman called Dr. Madinga came in and said, we need to initiate a project that will consolidate our problems as men. You know, we need to come together as a machita and start talking, you know, a platform for crying, not necessarily crying but cry out the problem out. Yeah, because we are going into these stages of life without mentorship proper. You know,
we were raised by strong men.
We were raised by strong men who had a different reaction from their women than what we are getting now.
We have now.
So the concept is different.
The world has changed.
The world has changed.
And we were not told.
No, so we are dealing with different things. You know, we are dealing with different situations. And, you know, so we thought, let's start a WhatsApp. But we said, no, man, everybody, when they want to have an initiative, they start a WhatsApp group. And they start talking. And then
we are social media.
So people start talking about things that are not relevant to the group. We said, no, let us call a meeting. So we did a poster. men's talk. Let's meet on
You can say it properly. I did a poster. There was no consultation on doing the poster.
I did not consult.
Did a poster. He was inspired. He went with the poster. Like, take you.
And I set the date.
I mean, fair in celebrating someone when they are still alive.
Yeah.
You know, when I spoke, and probably out of tune, because I mean, not even half, 95% of the people who were there are not from my side of the town. So I know, literally, I had no reason saying what I said. But you took initiative.
Yeah, I took the initiative. No,
So you must get your crowns now. Usi said, I'm not going to have a conversation past Mr. Mdaka or in his memorial service. So I want you to say it and say it boldly without hiding. Which I then went on end.
Yeah.
Because it's no joke. You didn't consult anyone.
Yeah. So,
You didn't have a conversation with anyone. You went and did this, and that's why we're here.
yeah. So, yeah, I went from the conversation that we had. It was a very, very, very intense conversation.
Yeah.
I came back home. I've got a couple of softwares. I'm a media person. I'm in the entertainment industry. I've got editing suits and all that. So I like playing around such things, you know. So I did a poster, chose a date, chose the time, chose the venue.
All this without consulting.
All this without consulting anyone. And then I went and talked to the venue owner. The venue owner accepted. And then I threw the poster into the community. And I named it as well, Men Talk.
Which is why we're here.
Which is
We are finally to the cracks of the business.
why.
The main reason we are here is Men Talk.
Yes.
And before I ask you anything further, so I'd like to open the whole Men Talk further. So, Mina, even though I was there when we had the conversation, when it started, we would say, this is what we would like to have happen. I also had challenges once the invites came out. We would say, okay, so fine, fair enough. Men can come and have a conversation. And we come from a generation where, so as much as we are trying to have a conversation or have conversations, the reality is that the world has changed so much from what our fathers taught us that it's hard to also be present and be men. So literally the men identity is being lost, but in that, men are broken. So you can't ask broken people to have an identity.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so in saying that, I want to understand, so what was your drive? Because that was my drive. That's what I wanted from this, for men to talk. But I also, even when the poster came out, I also had fears. So I questioned how will my next door neighbor be able to break down or have a conversation in front of me and other men, or give a piece of himself to this, or heal from this in an open space. For instance, we're having this conversation at grounding. You know what I mean? So I questioned that. So I want to know, what were your feelings and your fears going into the first meeting?
Okay, look, for the first time in any project that I've ever engaged on, I was not scared. I had no fear whatsoever.
You're better than
me. I had no fear whatsoever. My thoughts were that even if I must die 4 or 5, firstly, it's enough. Because I had an approach, I had an approach as to how are we going to approach this thing. It sounds intense when you look at it from a distance, and like when the name like we're going to get there and start talking about our wives and criticizing them and criticizing all the people that seem to be putting us under pressure around things. We did not have that. I did not have that in mind. Even when the agenda, I had no agenda on the day. I didn't know what we were going to talk about, but we had issues around our community, which requires the interaction of men in order to be for them to which amongst the few the problem of substance abuse by our children, we see them, we can't discipline them because they are not our kids. There was a time where our
but it's no longer here.
It doesn't no. We had that issue, and then we also acknowledged, yes, Amachita, on the day, guys, we are partly responsible for whatever is happening in our community. Number one, we have not done any initiative whatsoever to keep these kids busy.
Yeah.
I couldn't hold money one in team. You know. And kunamahlotmani, like everybody is there. Kunamahlotmani answering disk. Kunamahlotmani answering chairs. Kunamahlotmani answering trade, like trade industry, like answering ngokweldela ngokulungisa imoto. Kukhona mina ngithanda media ngamakhepha.
And these are just the things that you know.
You know, so that's where the whole thing started in terms of communication and discussing. But it had an opportunity, of course, to get further into our personal spaces. But we could not. There was no way.
At that time.
Yeah, but there was no way to fail.
Why are you smiling so brightly when you know? Yeah, I know, I get it.
Time for that was not there. So we were very smart. I think everybody was very, very smart about this.
Yeah,
yourself and other.
No, we have to give a shout out, special shout out to the Alliance men for showing up and to an extent, not just the Alliance men, for showing up and willing to do the work.
Yes.
The work that's not easy to do. The work that's not, because when you show up, you don't even know what work you might need to do.
Yes.
The work that you might need to do shows up. For instance, I never thought I would be doing this, but he did.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And in hindsight, kudos to you, because I'm generally enjoying it. And I know you made the role bigger than just today's session. And I'm thankful for it. And like I said, I'll give you a diamond while you're still here. I don't want to end the conversation past you. But now, the first meeting happens. And now the infamous group that you wanted to create is now live, because you now have members that were actually there.
Yes.
And there's now initiatives based on the meeting. How did you feel immediately? Because I think it's important to know, where were you at that point after the first meeting? How did you feel after it? Before obviously a couple of beers went down and everything, where were you?
Look, my brother, that meeting was very simple. It was very simple, and the participation of Amachita, it was on another level. It was so casual that, we ended up having smooth conversations, and then there was an element of trying also to bring discipline to some of Amachita. It's not everybody who comes with good intents, but some are coming with good intentions, but at the same time, they don't feel their space because they don't want to relate to the space that we are in, So after that first meeting, I came back home after we have had drinks, and then started looking at the videos, because I was taking videos in Ehubyeni. I was like, in that space.
I've not been in any video for the record.
Yeah, I took pictures. In fact, you are in the next one. So I was taking pictures and I was making videos, and then I looked at the work, and I remembered the concept and what we were discussing on that day. I felt very proud, not of myself, but of the people who responded.
It's okay if you felt proud.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I felt very proud of the people who responded to the call, because had they not responded, this whole thing was going to be null and void.
It could have just been a concept.
It could have just been a concept.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Me too, because the poster said, bring your own chair.
Bring a positive attitude in your own chair.
I'm
What a Sunday, Sundays are meant for family.
Yes, talking about things that needs to be done in the community. I felt very proud, and then I reflected back on my father. It's like
leadership went on.
This thing is going on, and then we created the WhatsApp because now we had the people now, and the people did not show up in numbers in terms of former cell phone numbers. They showed up in person. They were there. They were there for us to have these conversations, and it struck a lot of nerves,
Yeah.
Because when I came back home, my woman was also asking, what happens in Rome? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We are
able to discuss there.
It's none of your business.
If a man breaks there,
it's none of your business.
Fine.
When you will see the outcome, you will see the change.
You will bring back the husband that you wanted.
Yes. So yeah, it was very interesting, and then now ideas started started popping in, which okay, how are we going to discuss our issues in that?
Now, but you also needed to be sensitive because one, there's no psychologist, no counselor. Like it's men talking to men.
I get umuntu owazingcono. I get umuntu owazingcono kunomunye in that space.
We are all men.
So we are relating experiences and things we've had by someone.
In fact, your profession does not even count in that.
My man, I say I call that ukuthi must still there's a space, you know.
Yeah.
So when we came into the next meeting, the next meeting, which was like
beautiful
Sunday, it was beautiful. My brother. The attendance was lesser than the first one.
The attendance was less, but the context of the meeting and the meat in the meeting, it was beautiful. It was beautiful to see a man bend his views because of other men's views.
Yes.
But it was also beautiful to see another man stand up for his views, which is what I think we are mostly blamed for in the society where, men are trash, men are dogs. Because we can be dogs because of that one view or that one man or those couple of men, which, understandably so, we are men. We're not doing anything about it. So, we have to wear that vest, wear that hat because of that. But it was beautiful to see men bend another man, but men stand on his views until you understand his views. It was a beautiful sight to see.
Really.
And for that, I have to say congratulations to you for keeping on doing it. But also, what's more, big ups to the men that showed up.
Big ups.
Legend.
I'm a legend.
The men that showed up were legends because they didn't cower down. They didn't, even when there was a strong view in the room, they didn't cower down.
Please.
But before we go into that, I want to have a conversation about something that I think even when I was there sitting down in that meeting, that I picked up on, that might be an issue for other people. But it's an issue only because they don't understand. So when we meet as men, we seem to think we are all equals, but the reality is in one room, there's never actually all equals. Let's be honest. In one room, we can never all be equals because there's a reason why you are in that room. There's probably another man or woman in that room that made that happen. So there's no way we can be equals, right? But there's the manner in which you handle the meeting. There's the disciplinarian that comes out of you. So the man I'm sitting in front of me right now, I genuinely enjoy his space, love him to death. But when you are in that space where we are addressing each other, where you have to address Wuti, look, we can sing together, but we can't have a conversation together. The manner in which you do it is so sharp, so harsh to many. So I'd like to give you an opportunity to you to sort of say, why is it you do it that way? What's the reasoning behind it? Because some people might not understand. Some people might be turned off by it. And some people are actually quite sensitive. They might feel, no, this is like no man is going to have a conversation with that way. The men complex that we also had a conversation about. So I'd like to give you an opportunity to sort of, even for the men that are going to come, so that they understand why, therefore, this is necessary.
In every space of operation, there's hierarchy. Hierarchy means that obekwayo.
So my codes.
Yeah, obekwayo for a particular reason.
Because we can listen to you, or we can respect you, or we think we can get.
On the first meeting, I self-appointed myself, by the way. On the first meeting, I appointed myself, and I put a disclaimer with leadership. I self-appointed myself today because I want to see this thing through, and I want to give it a direction as to how have I envisioned it. And I'm glad Amatita gave me the opportunity to do that. On the second one, I was appointed by Amatita to say, Doc, we need you to stand there because you've got some sort of authority, and this thing comes with discipline, this thing comes with robustness, and this thing comes with you being able to have a technique as to how do you then ensure authority and instill discipline and also manage a situation at the same time.
And still be able to have a drink with them afterwards.
And they'll still be able to have a drink with them afterwards.
Yeah.
It's a skill that you learn when we have experience working in a public space. I'm a public servant by profession. I don't know whether it's a profession, that thing, but I'm a public servant, so I work with public. I react to to a lot of finger pointing, a lot of accusations, and a lot of. So I've learned in that space to kind of like be kind, but also be
fair.
Be fair. You know, like with Mamela, we know you are excited about what you are saying, but you are now driving this thing aside. Can you put this one aside? We'll attend to it immediately when we are done with this one. You know, it's protocol and agenda. See, when you have the agenda, you can be able to drive everything and it's smooth. And when you are sincere, when you are talking from your heart, people will be angry, but people will understand.
They will hear you anyway.
Exactly. They will quote. They will quote. But at the end of the day, remember the purpose why we are here. We are not here to nest each other's feelings, but we are here to heal each other and make sure that we tell each other the truth so that we can be able to have a direction which is driven by sincerity and straight talk and also facts that are meant to build, not so khohlisana. Right dog, right ngani ndoda ngoba uyaphetha. Mawuphetha yaphetha ndoda. Mawenza into right, you know. Uyasayithini sakudonsa sakubuyisa. That's how it should be. That if we do it that way in everything that we do, we are going to have a beautiful, perfect life.
Some of us, to be honest, might need to be broken down to be rebuilt.
That's it.
So that we will even better. Okay, now having had 2 sessions, 2 meetings, an incredible round of men, and I say this because I was there. And look up at it. Do I think I'm incredible? I think the people in my life will be able to say. But I think the presence of men that was around was incredible. Now, having seen that, experienced it, what was your take home from those meetings?
My take home, I was in the presence of big and brave souls. I was Kwambani, Abo Brakini, Abo Pramanda, Abo Reza, Abo Kongo, all those guys that were there. To mention but a few. If I did not mention you guys, sorry. I took home the fact that I'm not alone.
You're not doing this alone.
I'm not alone. This thing called life, there's no reason for me to do it alone.
Yeah.
I've got shoulders. I've got thousand bold shoulders that I can try on. I have a brother now that I can call and say, hey, Glingas, I'm Vana, I got paid. And without expecting judgment.
Yeah.
The problem starts with the judgment.
Which is what I was saying to you, the fear of coming to the
entity. So I was, when I came out of that space, I came up the different man. I came out a person willing to look at things differently. Willingly so. Because remember, when I'm sharing, I'm not taking sides. Yamfakazela nalo betayo.
Yeah.
Yamfakazela nalo ngathi ngiyayithanda. So
but in there you still be okay.
Uyangithola ngiyabahlanganisa bonke ngibalethe endaweni eyi-one.
Yeah.
So I get to have attachment to everything that every guy says. So my take home was simple, my brother. I'm not alone. I don't have to kill myself when I have problems. I don't have to commit murder. I don't have to hate on my kids because they are a financial burden. I will go through this thing. I was like, this solution here.
Like life, come on.
This solution you corner. That's what I came back home with. There is a solution to every problem. Hence, we have initiated a lot of programs through those meetings.
Yeah.
Now we have a soccer team. Now we have a chess team. Now we choir is all over. We're starting to try and do our rehearsals. It's just that people, everything grows.
Yeah, it grows gradually. You'll start with 2, 3, 4.
Yes. Today, the 16th of June, Amachita went on an initiative which was created by Mr. Malimela, Mr. S2EP2, with Planet Fitness in Prague.
Oh, yeah. That came from the meeting.
It came from the meeting. So today, this morning, Amachita went with the boy child to go to Planet Fitness to get a free training session.
Big up Planet Fitness, by the way.
No, big up.
Not paid, because they accepted.
Yes.
Now, a proposal. One didn't show up, and they were like, Shemis kept cells. I accept, and they did. So they didn't have to.
So where you are sitting, Madinga, are you not seeing any progress?
There's plenty of progress.
My brother, we are not alone.
Plenty of progress.
The answers are there. We are not alone.
We are in the presence of some great men. And I hope with time, we'll be able to introduce those men to you and even more men. But with the concept having started, so from concept actual to now this interview, I think everyone else is dying to know, is this going to go on? And if so, why? And if not, why? I'd be disappointed if it doesn't, but why?
My brother, this is going to go on. Yeah, it's going to go on because we have already opened certain doors, you know.
Yeah.
Together, myself, Nokopano, we will be recruiting some boys to come and start understanding this setup, you know.
Yes.
To start operating cameras, to start looking at everything that is happening in the space, you know.
Yeah.
It will go on.
There's a lot. We're sitting here, but there's a lot behind.
Yeah, we're sitting here, but there's a lot behind there. Like Maja, people can see this and never look at this, but there's so much
behind the,
you know,
that it's scary.
It's opportunities for our kids, our young boys. These are the opportunities.
To think that you know it.
We are opening it up to say that, guys, come on with the proposal. Come talk to us. We will then open the spaces. We will train you. We will show you ways. You know, there's an NGO project, S2EP2 in Ohio. We're trying to put things together, but we are going to have an impact in the community, not just here, not just in David John, not just in Twato, not just in the Lami, not just in Kingsway, not just in Cloverdale, not chiefly to Lupera, Scone Plus. No, we are going to have an impact that will affect every man around the country. You understand? So there's no stopping, there's no going back. We are going at this thing.
No, I like the fact that, you know, you are also not waiting for a campaign that asks men to stand up. You're standing up long before the campaign comes along. But I'm going to throw a spanner in the works because I always do. Isn't that the point?
The devil's advocate.
The devil's advocate. I think that should be my name. But so there's Mother's Day coming up.
Yeah.
Right? Mother's Day came and things happened the way they should have and the way they needed to happen. How are you feeling with Mother's Day coming? Are you feeling represented as a man in the market? And by the market, I mean by brands themselves. And I mean and I say this because these are some of the things that are actually breaking men or making men. So depending on which side you are on this conversation, it either makes you or breaks you. So how are you feeling about campaigns, for instance, the story, or about the men in general or the family in general? Because if it was Mother's Day coming up, you would have probably already have something planned or in the works for the missus, for your mom. A conversation for another day, because I need to have a conversation about Mother's Day and Father's Day as to who should be celebrating who at what point. Should I be celebrating my wife or my mom? You know, those types of things. Yeah. But we'll get to those. The spanner in the works right now is, so that's a throw forward. So right now, the conversation is simply, do you feel Father's Day is as represented, because it's relevant. We're going towards it this weekend, is as relevant in the market by brands, by men themselves or their partners and their kids as Mother's Day is?
No. We are not, look, my brother, we don't even need these people to market us and put us there. We already have a huge responsibility to change the world. I don't care whether CNA, is it okay for me to mention? I don't care.
Mention brands as long as you're not tarnishing them.
Yeah.
I
don't care whether outlets that sell commemoration products, so I think that sounds better, you know, are having any content that leads to celebrating a man, you know. We need to celebrate ourselves first. One of the reasons we are not celebrated is because we are busy worried about things that we are unable to do when we could just celebrate ourselves and start making impact. So I really don't care whether there's an advert about Father's Day on TV or not. We are going to make them think about us in the absence of media and support.
Big ups to the men.
Thank you.
The men. And the legend. Like I said, I mean, but anyway, I think everyone kind of understands the idea behind Men Talk. But what would you like to say to men who are terrified of this initiative or don't even like the idea of this initiative or think this is just clout? This is us now just trying to, you know, get cloud become celebrities by saying we represent men. What would you like to say about this particular conversation in terms of, the project that has been started and that is going on, and I'll continue to call it a project because I think it's a never-ending job. There's one, yeah.
The chance, kunzima bafethu, niyazi na, nithwele kanzima, and everybody knows, sithwele kanzima bafethu, kunzima ukuba indoda. That one is, you cannot, and you cannot make it out there on your own. We need to come together, guys. We need to come together as a machita, without judging each other, without looking at what you are and what you have and what you don't have. You understand? We need to come together. We need to sit down and start having initiatives that will build us as a man. Imagine, I think I did a fact check on how many men we have in South Africa. I think it's about 36 or 46 something, 36 million or something, or 26 million. Imagine if every man was to contribute R1 from their pocket every month. R1, 1 rand. Imagine how much we would have in the pocket, Yamachita, and how much initiative we would have. Building infrastructure, building building companies, building businesses. R1 pendoda.
Stop waiting.
R1 pendoda. Every month. We can even make it every week, which is R4 per month. 26 million May, popping out R1 every week. How much we would have and how much difference we would make to the lives of the young boys in this country, in the space that we live in. A lot of difference. We would change our own space. We would change the future of our children. When the male child is safe, when the male child is sane, then the woman is safe wherever she is, which is our daughter.
They say, keep me safe and I'll make you safe.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
You keep that woman safe, she will make you safe.
Do you understand?
But right now, you've got a man who's not safe.
He's broken.
And therefore, a woman who's not safe. And I get that. This is provocative, as you said, Uguti. Because someone might be sitting, because in this country, unfortunately or fortunately, let's say fortunately, we've got so many organizations that support so many different things. And they might look at an initiative that's speaking to just men as, oh, men, okay. But in reality is, maybe you are not wrong in saying, let's look at men from the bottom of their hearts. Let's look at the men inside the men, not the men that you are looking at now. Let's look at the men that this man is raising. Let's look at the men that this man is giving birth to. But let's look at the men that this man is being watched by. If we make this man better, is there a necessity for the other conversation? Because then these men will be good. They will keep these women safe. Therefore, there's no necessity for everything else.
This is what we are trying to fix. You see the way you have put it, my man. You have just given the solution to all the problems that we have as men. Love yourself so that you can be able to give love. I don't understand, how do you expect to give love to someone when you don't have enough for yourself? Yeah. You need to love yourself, take care of yourself, understand yourself, live up to your best ability in terms of the role that you are. If you are a young boy, be a young boy. If you are a husband, be a husband. If you are a child, be a child. Everybody must reach their limits in whatever that they are at the time, so that they can be able to have a positive contribution into the world. The outlook depends on the inside of the person.
Well, in closing, I don't think it's a fair question to ask, but why not? I mean, you're a brave man. You've done so many.
Yeah.
In closing, I want to ask you to speak to the men of the world. I want you to leave a message to the men of the world as well as to the men for the next coming session, which, by the way, is next month.
Thank you.
It's not. I'm a person with a body now. We said 45 minutes. He said 45 minutes. I needed to make sure the 45 minutes. I can't make it just 45 minutes. Nothing is in the last flop record, last pipe record. Now we're not loud enough. Well, I needed to give you guys enough because I can't assume secret. And for the record, this is the first time I'm doing this just flow and myself will go. No, I'm dying. No, No, that wasn't a conversation, Maraibera. Until you're going to be a resident host. So I think that you need to read, you must read it. There's a, so I respect that and I understand it. I respect that, Sonny Case cuts up. You told me, guys cut, guy a chance, But I think I like this. I feel like I'm finding purpose.
It's the same. I know.
For someone who's done law, who's done logistics for 13 years, I mean, I've been around. I thought I'd found purpose, but this was more important. For some reason, I feel more myself. And I haven't felt like Carter or, it feels like I shouldn't be doing this. No, for the first time, like, to tell you, I do everything to dodge. I don't consider myself important. I'm too. But he did one thing where I agreed with him as a cow. Guys, can't he? I thought much it is put it there. Fine. And then I agreed with him. I was like, okay, so got it.
Because we cannot afford to have the best of the cream away from the reality of what must happen.
Now, one day I'm going to ask you how you thought I could do this, because I've never done something like this.
Okay. One of the reasons I thought you could do this when I'm adding,
and also, you must also explain why you didn't give me a choice, because you said, nobody resident host. Yeah. We have a guest when we have it. All right, but I understand, which I've never done this.
No, I don't care. The output, you see, when you talk to people, that's why it's very important. When you talk to people, when you have a conversation with people, it must come from within. It must be authentic in such a way that people can feel you and understand you, what kind of a person you are. There's no time for pretense, my brother. You cannot pretend to be something that you're not. One of the reasons we don't see the beauty in other people is because they keep on trying to be something that they're not.
When they keep on this is what they're doing. I mean,
that's why I had asked them to come and be part of an initiative like this. You understand? Yeah. So, hence, whenever you are going to be running your site, run my site. If ever going to guest, there's a show that the cops will talk about now after I answer that question and close the show that he wants to talk to you about. And he began now and some gentleman called Tony. We will talk to you about it. What was the question?
Then Google your question. In flows, want you to have a conversation
with the men of the world.
The men of the world and the men that should be coming to the meetings.
Yes. Gents, men of the world, machita ngaphandle. I'm
just thinking.
Yeah, it's just thinking. But check and juke. Gents, nkulumana nonke man. Like from all spaces of life, from the informal settlement to the highest space in the world, in the country and in the world, to the richest, from the poorest to the richest, from black to green. We are not choosing. This is men talk. We're not saying black men only. We're not saying Indian men only. This is men talk.
Man.
We need Amadota. Men must unite, reclaim your position. And by reclaiming your position, I'm not saying you must go and start bullying women out there and doing funny stuff. Reclaiming your position means taking your position as men and lead. Because we are leaders. I'm not saying women can't be leaders, but by biologically, we are leaders. Economically, we sometimes we have to subscribe. But biologically, we are born leaders. We are just driven by this economic space that has changed and evolved. But we must go with
the landscape has changed.
Yeah, but we need to stand up and make sure that we make the difference into the world. We need to contribute in whatever way, whether it's technical, whether it's anything that you can contribute into this men forum. And this men, the reason why we don't call it a men forum is because there's so many of them out there, men forum. This is men talk. This is where men sit down, talk, and come up with solutions and implement. Take action. You understand? So we want each and every man out there who feels that they can be able to support this, they can be able to push us to the next level. We want to have our men talk at some point at Galaka Estate. See, pheke le ndawo leyana sibe ne panel yamadota and with topics and with way forwards whether it's business,
Talk.
whether it's business, whether it's how we behave in our families and in our homes, or whether it's how we treat our kids, whether it's how we survive this accusation of that we are absent fathers and all that. You know, we need to come together as a machita so that the world can be different. Forget about politics. We are not politicians. We are not politicians, guys. We are not politicians. We are men trying to make a difference in our lives and in the lives of our women, in the lives of our children.
As just men.
People have been putting up placards and saying, hey, GPV, and not addressing this issue the right way. Now we are talking about our problems, and we are sorting out our problems. And I'm very happy that in all our meetings so far, there's never been a man who stood up and said, women are the ones causing us these problems. No, we are still pointing the fingers in ourselves. We are pointing these fingers. We are doing it. It's us who's making this to be like this. It's us who are not taking responsibility. It's us who must do this. It's us. I love that pace. As something that will pace. Let's keep on finding the fault in us, and then the rest they will fix themselves.
Danko.
Salute. Danko walks up.
All with them done. I give you the men.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend.
Done.
We're going to do things.
Double check. Sitting with the master.
Hey,
Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, it's been a cool corpse, man.